Truth over fear, and the truth will set you free. I want to talk to you guys about these casket liners, what they call them, and how, there's so many reserves of these casket liners, especially in Georgia, and that's where the Georgia Guidestones are at. We all know that Georgia Guidestones, have the inscribing of 500 million people that they want to perpetuate balance with nature and get rid of them. So I want to bring you this video about these casket liners and how they've been preparing for this since the inception of deception.
Not too long ago, I talked with Dale Bohannon, whom I've known since, I guess, the mid-1980s. And he told me something very interesting that he found back in the fall of 2000 while he was on a business trip. Listen to this, folks.
I was pulled to the side road, which was a new cut gravel dirt road in front of a business, a builder supply business, actually top-notch builder supply in Madison, Georgia. To my right, this was previously was a soybean field, and this little new cut road divided this field, and the right side of the road was filled with which I thought was portable toilets. I never looked at them that close. Same in color, maybe black, but which was an odd color. And I was sitting there going over my notes, and a van pulled alongside of me that turned out to be the property owner. And he greeted me, and he was by himself, and so we had a good little dialogue there, and I asked him about the field of black boxes. What were they? Because I'd never seen anything like that. And his statement was that if he told me, I would be one of few people in Madison, Georgia that knew about them. And he says they're disposable coffins, I believe he told me. And he says there's 100, at that time he said there was 125,000 there. And they were stacked, he told me 15 high. I asked him who owned them, and he stated that the CDC owned them and that they were leasing his land for storage. And he said his brother worked with the CDC in Atlanta and had been asked by the CDC to do a 3-year extension to place temporary morgues all across the nation.
So in January of this year, 2005, we decided to drive to beautiful Madison, Georgia and take a look for ourselves. It was on a Sunday and no one was around, with the exception of this one pickup truck that was coming out the narrow road that we were going in on next to this field. We flagged down the pickup truck, and it was providential that the driver of this pickup truck turned out to be the son of the man that owned this field. So naturally, we started asking him questions. And he told us that not long ago, there had been as many as 500,000 of these grave liners or disposable coffins. We asked him for permission if we could look around, and he said yes, so we did.
We're just getting an idea for the size of these boxes. What could these boxes be used for? Well, they're called casket liners. And that's an interesting term, isn't it? It's a casket liner. When I first heard the term casket liner, I thought perhaps a lining for a casket. But this is too big to be on the inside of a casket. So certainly this could be used as a casket. This is an inexpensive casket. And you can see the size here. There's lots of room. I think my friends here, we could all probably get inside, and it might be a little cozy, but we'd fit just fine. Which tells me that these liners can be used for more than just one. And one more time, what kind of liners are these?
Casket liners.
These are casket liners.
That's what the man said.
That's what the man told us. And we're told that there are about, well, there were about 500,000 out here.
Later, as I went back to my home office, I spoke of it there, and of course, people usually don't want to hear too much about this kind of thing. So it's never been mentioned, publicly, except just here and there, because most, like I said, the reaction I got, people didn't want to know about it, the few people that I spoke to, and so I just dropped it. And till I went to a luncheon, a fundraiser for Representative Saxby Chambliss. He was running for his second term for the U.S. House of Representatives. And it was a crowd, probably 100, maybe 150. It was congressmen, senators, state senators, and mayors. There was one table, we probably had 2 3-star generals and a couple of 1-star with their spouses. So it was a real high-powered meeting. But the keynote speaker was a congressman, and I don't remember his name. He'd just been in the House for a long time, and he was the chairman of the Armed Services Committee. And so he just spoke in behalf of Representative Chambliss and the importance of having him on board to be reelected due to our threats. But it had to do with the nuclear devices that was missing from the old Soviet Union and that had gotten into terrorist hands. And it was, the emphasis was on the critical state that we face in this country, and he said we could lose tens of millions of people in the next decade, and he used those terms, due to a nuclear strike on U.S. soil. And I was sitting there, and it became very clear to me that that could very well explain why just weeks, could be 2 to 3 weeks prior to that meeting, that I had stumbled upon these, at that time, 125,000 disposable liners or caskets or coffins or whatever they could be termed as in that soybean field in Madison, Georgia.
Dane, this is Vantage Products. Been inside this plant several years ago, looking for dock floats, except these aren't dock floats. These are casket liners. Looks like they have white ones now. If you look off in the distance to the left of that crepe myrtle, as we pan around, this is their shipping and receiving areas. Look at the casket liners stacked up. The black casket liners there. Now I'm pulling out, and as we pull out, you will see more casket liners. Back there, right here. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like 16 in a stack. And as you can see, there's quite a few of these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to lose track of the count. I mean, these things go back. Look it up on the hill. We're just going rock and rolling by the old casket liners. Not lots of no trespassing signs.
Okay, so the company Vantage equals 38, like death equals 38. And vantage also equals 25, like death equals 25. And obviously this company Vantage is the manufacturer for these inexpensive, if you want to call it, or what they call them, casket liners. Murder also equals 38, like vantage, and murder also equals 83. And Madison, Georgia equals 38 and 83. Georgia Guidestones equals 97, like death equals 97. And 97 is the 25th prime, like vantage is 25 and death is 25. The Jesuit order equals 69 and 201. Black grave liners equals 69 and 102, the reflection of 201. And white casket liners equals 201. And then look at the map for Madison, Georgia. You got the interstates 83 and 20 running right through it, right? Just like murder is 83. Death is 20. Madison, Georgia, 83. I mean, it's running right through it on the map. And Georgia Guidestones are in Georgia. You know, talking about depleting 500 million people. A lot of death talk, I guess, coming from Georgia, but Georgia's really important, but we won't get into that right now. But just wanted you guys to see how it's all connected to the fact that there's these inexpensive casket liners that they've been preparing for mass death. And if you notice in the first video, it's the voice of Dale Bohannon. This gentleman, he attended this exclusive fundraiser with military personnel and congressmen, senators, mayors, and all that. And he was talking about that they were saying that there was a nuclear attack that was going to be brought to U.S. soil, but that was more than likely a throw off. But he's talking about, and what I can see, and if people don't see it, then, you know, we all know there's brain deads out there that can't see what's going on. But they're talking about the pandemic, and from the start of the pandemic, you know, this is the beginning of, you know, where they're moving us towards, which is, you know, mass graves, mass death, or depopulation. The nearly 20-foot high series of granite slabs known as the Georgia Guidestones are inscribed with a series of admonitions for a future age of reason. Billed as America's Stonehenge, it's an astronomically complex 120-ton relic of Cold War fears built to instruct survivors of an Armageddon that the mystery man feared was all too near. And we all know who's behind it, Society of Jesus. And if you don't know who the Society of Jesus is, look them up. Do your research. And, you know, they use this code, gematria, comes from ancient Jewish mysticism. Practice of coding numbers into words. It's pretty basic, but it must be learned. It is part of awakening. It will help or aid into seeing their number rituals that they mock us with every day. And there's 4 base ciphers, which if you learn them, you'll start to be able to decode, you know, their number rituals that they so evidently mock us with. And Society of Jesus is 56, Age of Reason is 56, and Georgia Guidestones is 97, the reflection of 79. And here are the 4 base ciphers I'll leave you with. And this is how they perpetuate their dumbing down of the masses, and how they perform their number rituals, because it's important to them, and how they're, you know, ushering in their New World Order. through these 4 base ciphers. And once you learn it, you start to see, through the lies and through the deception. Like I said, it's part of awakening. But we'll never know. This knowledge has been kept from us. And even in their book, because the ancient Jewish mysticism comes from Kabbalah. And in their book, the Book of Formation, it says God created the world with letters, numbers, and words. The truth is simple. It's the lies that get complicated.